My beloved child, something in the unseen realm is moving toward you faster than anyone around you realizes, and Archangel Michael has stepped forward to uncover what others have tried to hide in the shadows. The message carried into your spirit today is urgent, and the title you opened is not random. 2 hours left. Archangel Michael says, I order you to open this urgently. Don't tell anyone. It's only for you. They're planning and plotting to discuss your removal. Open it quickly. These words are not just a warning. They are a supernatural alert meant to shake you awake before any hidden strategy can take root. Even as you hear this, Michael stands with his sword burning in blue flame, scanning the spiritual atmosphere around you. He is revealing that conversations have been held behind closed doors, meetings you were never invited to, whispers you were never meant to hear. And yet heaven has intercepted those whispers before they could manifest into your reality. Someone has been carrying a quiet jealousy, a subtle resentment, a hidden intention to move you out of a position God placed you in. But hear this: no earthly power can remove what heaven has ordained. A shift has already begun. Archangel Michael is not just warning you, he is positioning you. He is showing you the truth so you cannot be blindsided. The reason this message found you is because time-sensitive spiritual events are unfolding with precision. The phrase 2 hours left is symbolic of urgency, not fear. It is heaven's countdown to intervention. A divine timer has been activated, and before it reaches the final moment, justice will reveal itself in a way that even your enemies cannot deny. Right now, in realms unseen, Michael is standing between you and the very people who thought their conversations were invisible. He is guarding your name, protecting your honor, and placing confusion in the camp of those who tried to orchestrate your downfall. What they meant as strategy, God has turned into exposure. What they meant as removal, heaven has marked as elevation. And Michael whispers, open your spirit quickly. Do not delay. It is only for you. The one speaking against you underestimated the spiritual covering surrounding your life. They believed their influence could move you. They believed their opinions could define you. They believed their discussion could limit you. But Michael wants you to know, every plot collapses when heaven speaks. Every scheme dissolves when light pierces darkness. And every attempt to push you out becomes the very reason you are pushed forward. This is why your spirit felt unsettled lately. You sensed something shifting. You felt distance from certain people. You noticed sudden changes in tone, sudden excuses, sudden coldness. That was not paranoia. That was your spirit picking up the movement of hidden intentions. Michael confirms that what you felt was real, but what you feared will not have power over you. A divine reversal is already activated. Michael says, I stand guard over what belongs to you. I stand watch over the doors God opened for you. No discussion can overturn what heaven has written. And as he speaks, the atmosphere around you begins to tighten with holy authority. You can almost feel the urgency in the air, as if something is being decided in real time, because it is. There is a reason Michael told you not to tell anyone. This warning is not to be watered down by opinions or doubted by disbelief. This message is a personal briefing from heaven's warrior, delivered to one who has been marked, chosen, and preserved. Not everyone around you can handle what is happening. Not everyone around you has the spiritual maturity to discern it. Some people would talk you out of what heaven is trying to show you. That is why Michael whispered, it's only for you. You are stepping into a moment of exposure and divine protection. Those planning your removal will soon face their own downfall, not by your hand, but by the weight of their own intentions. They called meetings without you, but heaven called a meeting about you. They spoke in corridors, but God spoke from the throne. and the throne always wins. Before you move further, breathe. Something major is about to unfold, and if your spirit leaves now, you will miss the revelation Michael is preparing to release. Hold steady. What comes next will clarify everything. Type "I receive the warning" in the comments if this is speaking to you. Blessing code 4433 is now activated over your protection. Before you move forward, stay right here, because the next revelation Michael is about to uncover will shake the truth out of the shadows. Dearest one, as you step deeper into this message, the atmosphere around you begins to shift again, because Archangel Michael is not finished unveiling what has been hidden from your eyes. The urgency that began with the words 2 hours left is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to awaken a level of awareness that will protect you from the quiet sabotage forming behind the scenes. Heaven is drawing back the curtain layer by layer, showing you the unseen motives of those you once trusted, those who smiled in your presence yet spoke differently the moment you turned away. Michael stands with his sword lifted, and his voice carries a tone of authority that does not waver, saying, "Pay attention. The truth is unfolding faster than they can conceal it." There is a realm of conversation that has taken place beyond your hearing, and yet your spirit has been catching fragments of it. Those moments when you suddenly felt drained after speaking to someone, or the times when your intuition told you to step back without knowing why. Archangel Michael reveals that these sensations were not random. You were picking up on the energy of people whose intentions toward you were not aligned with the truth. Heaven has been assigning protection to you long before you knew you needed it, and now Michael is making sure you understand why. Someone had been threatened by your progress, by your calling, by the favor of God that rests upon you. Someone has looked at your growth and felt insecurity rather than inspiration. This insecurity has driven them into conversations that were never supposed to involve your name, and yet they brought you up with a tone of dismissal and desire to remove you from a place ordained for you. Michael wants you to understand something crucial. The spiritual world responds to intention long before action. Their intention to push you out created a ripple in the unseen realm, and that ripple triggered heavenly intervention. That is why the message reached you now. The countdown is not a warning of destruction, but a signal that divine justice is already in motion. The ones plotting against you believe they are acting in secrecy. They believe their thoughts, discussions, and strategies are invisible. But nothing hidden stays hidden when heaven chooses to reveal it. Michael stands as the guardian of truth, ensuring that every shadow is brought into light before harm can touch you. He also shows you the deeper layer of this situation. This is not just about your position, your reputation, or your opportunities. This is about your destiny. You carry something sacred, something impactful, something that disturbs the comfort of people who prefer smallness over growth. Your presence naturally exposes what is false. Your calling naturally disrupts what is weak. Your spirit naturally awakens what others try to keep asleep. This is why they fear you, though they would never admit it. And this fear has turned into plotting, strategizing, and discussions designed to move you aside. But hear Michael clearly. No plan formed in darkness can remove a child assigned to the light. His message grows even stronger as he continues. You are being safeguarded not because you are fragile, but because you are essential. Heaven protects what has purpose. Heaven shields what carries assignment. Heaven intervenes when destiny is unavailable. The very fact that this message reached you confirms that your purpose is not just active, it is accelerating. And acceleration often triggers resistance. The ones plotting against you think they are powerful, but they have underestimated the divine covering that surrounds you like an impenetrable shield. They have mistaken their influence for authority, but authority belongs only to God. They have confused their plans with outcomes, but outcomes belong to heaven alone. Michael shows another vision, a table filled with voices speaking over you. Some voices speak doubt. Some speak jealousy. Some speak discouragement. But then a larger, brighter table appears, heaven's table, and there your name is spoken with honor, protection, destiny, and elevation. The earthly table tried to discuss your removal, but the heavenly table has already secured your advancement. The earthly table whispered about blocking you, but the heavenly table has marked you for breakthrough. The earthly table saw you as a threat, but the heavenly table sees you as chosen. The message becomes even more specific. Michael reveals that the ones plotting against you are unaware of the consequences their intentions have already triggered. When someone speaks against a child carried by heaven, they speak against heaven itself. This is why their plans will not prosper. This is why confusion will rise among them. This is why their agreement will fall apart. Michael has already stepped between you and every plan aimed at disrupting your path. You may not see it yet, but the unraveling has begun. Their unity will fracture. Their confidence will fade. Your secrecy will be exposed. And you will stand untouched, elevated above the chaos they tried to send your way. You must remain attentive now, because Michael is preparing to reveal the identity of the motive, the source, or the spirit behind this plot, and the next revelation is sharper than anything you've heard so far. Hold your place in this message, for your next moment of clarity is approaching swiftly. Before you step into the next unveiling, steady your heart, because what Michael shows next will explain why the enemy tried so hard to silence you. Type "I receive the revelation" in the comments if this is confirming itself in your spirit. Blessing code 5590 is now released over your discernment. Beloved soul, as the veil thins even more, Archangel Michael steps closer, and his presence becomes almost tangible in the atmosphere around you. You may not see him with your natural eyes, but your spirit can sense the weight of what he carries. The urgency of the message, the intensity of the warning, and the divine pressure in the air all point to one truth. Heaven is preparing you before something unfolds in the physical realm. The words you read at the beginning, 2 hours left, were not exaggerated. They were not poetic. They were not symbolic alone. They were a heavenly indicator that a window of divine intervention is active right now, and you have been invited into it. Michael begins to reveal another layer of what has been happening around you. The plot against you is not new. It had been forming slowly, quietly, and with calculated subtlety. The people involved have been testing boundaries. They have been dropping hints to see how much influence they hold over you. They have tried to sway opinions, shift conversations, and create an atmosphere where your absence would feel justified. Heaven has listened to every word they spoke, even the ones they mumbled in frustration when no one was around. Your hearts have been exposed in the spiritual realm long before their faces could reveal it. Michael shows you a scene, a small group, perhaps 2 or 3, leaning in, discussing you as if you were a problem to be solved rather than a destiny being shaped by God. Their words were not open attacks. They were disguised as concerns, disguised as suggestions, disguised as subtle critiques. This is how spiritual plots begin, not with loud accusations, but with soft seeds planted in darkness. Seeds meant to weaken your position. Seeds meant to undermine your confidence. Seeds meant to influence those who watch you, follow you, or depend on you. But no matter how quietly they whispered, heaven heard every syllable. And this is where Michael's voice rises with authority. He says, "You are not in danger. You are being warned so that you recognize the pattern before it repeats. Heaven is not showing you this to create fear. Heaven is showing you this to give you mastery. When you understand the unseen, you no longer become a victim of it. You rise above it. You discern it. You outmaneuver it. This revelation is not meant to intimidate you. It is meant to empower you. Michael begins to explain that the reason you have felt tired, overwhelmed, or disconnected lately is not because you are weak, but because you have been spiritually absorbing the tension created by others' intentions. You have been walking through environments charged with unspoken hostility. You have been navigating conversations where the surface was calm, but the undercurrent was shifting. And your spirit, being sensitive and chosen, picked up what your mind could not yet articulate. This message is heaven's confirmation that you were not imagining anything. Every uneasy feeling was a signal. Every hesitation was a warning. Every sudden discomfort was a spiritual alarm clock. But here is the turning point. Michael is not only exposing what others intended, he is announcing what heaven has decided. The ones plotting your removal will not succeed. Their strategy will crumble under the weight of divine interference. Their agreement will dissolve as confusion is released among them. Their confidence will weaken as conviction enters their heights. Heaven has decided to interrupt their plans before they manifest. And the beautiful truth is this: they have no idea that their efforts are already being dismantled. Michael says, your name is being lifted in rooms they tried to erase you from. Your presence is being strengthened in spaces they hoped to weaken you in. Your assignment is being fortified in ways they cannot comprehend. Heaven will not allow the plotting of a few to override the calling placed upon you. What they tried to remove you from will become the place where you are publicly affirmed. What they tried to close will be the same door God forces open wider. Your elevation is not optional, it is ordained. You may feel a shift happening within you right now. That is not your imagination. That is your spirit recognizing truth. Michael is preparing you not only to withstand what was planned against you, but to rise above it with dignity, clarity, and supernatural strength. You are stepping into a new level of spiritual awareness that makes you untouchable by the schemes of the jealous or the insecure. Hold still for a moment. What comes next will change the way you interpret everything happening around you. The next revelation will not only expose the motive behind the plot, but also the spiritual force influencing those individuals. You are about to see the deeper reason why this attack formed in the first place. Stay close to this message, for the unfolding has only begun. Before you move forward, I want you to like this video, share it with one person who needs protection, comment your confirmation, hype the message so it reaches others, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss a divine alert like this again. Type "I stand under heaven's shield" in the comments if this resonates deeply. Blessing code 7714 is now active over your protection and clarity. You who are hearing this message right now are part of a divine assignment, and the work being done through this channel is touching lives in ways unseen. When you support this mission, you are not giving to a platform. You are sowing into the deliverance of souls who desperately need God's voice. Scripture says that those who water others will themselves be watered, and today heaven uses that living truth to remind you that your seed carries supernatural impact. I speak this to you from my spirit. When you feel the pull to stand with this work, that is God Himself stirring your heart. Just as Archangel Michael reveals hidden plots, your support helps reveal God's light to others trapped in spiritual darkness. This is not a donation. It is a prophetic act that heaven notices and rewards. Every gift, every super thanks, every membership, every PayPal offering in the description becomes spiritual oil flowing into the lives of those who need it most. Step into this moment with authority and release your support today, for heaven commands the faithful to move, not to hesitate. Child of the light, as the spiritual atmosphere continues to unfold before you. Archangel Michael steps further into the center of your awareness, and this time his presence carries a weight unlike anything revealed earlier. His wings extend with authority, casting a protective covering around you, and his voice becomes even more resolute. He's not merely exposing a plot anymore. He is guiding you into the deeper spiritual architecture behind it. What you have encountered in your life recently has not been accidental. It has not been random. It has not been coincidental. You have been walking through a season where heaven has deliberately allowed you to sense what was hidden so that you would not be taken by surprise when truth manifests in the physical realm. Michael begins to show you the roots beneath the surface of the situation. The plot against you was not birthed in a moment. It grew slowly, like a shadow stretching across your path. Someone around you allowed a small seed of envy to enter their heart. At first it was subtle, perhaps admiration mixed with insecurity, perhaps comparison mixed with resentment. But over time, that tiny seed turned into quiet hostility. They observed your strength, your endurance, your light, and instead of celebrating what God placed within you, they felt threatened by it. Their spirit could not handle your growth. Their ego could not handle your resilience. Their bitterness could not handle your favor. Michael reveals that the enemy used these small cracks in their heart as access points. Darkness never begins with a dramatic entrance. It starts with a whisper, a suggestion, a doubt, a feeling of discontent. And the enemy began to whisper to them, encouraging them to see you not as a blessing but as an obstacle, not as a companion but as a competitor, not as someone walking with purpose but as someone taking what belonged to them. These whispers grew into thoughts, and those thoughts grew into discussions, and those discussions grew into a plot that heaven has now fully exposed. But hear this with clarity. The plot did not form because of your weakness. It formed because of your strength. Your presence disrupts the comfort of those who choose stagnation. Your calling irritates the insecurity of those who refuse to grow. Your favor unsettles those who want influence without obedience. You have been carrying an anointing that activates one of two responses in people: awakening or agitation. Those destined for greatness around you feel awakened by you. Those unwilling to confront their own shadows feel agitated by you. This agitation turned into planning. This planning turned into plotting. And this plotting turned into an attempt at removal. Michael steps forward again, his sword glowing with a deeper blue flame, and he declares, "You are not under attack because you are vulnerable. You are under attack because you are ascending." This is a powerful truth that must sink into your spirit. Resistance increases not when you are falling, but when you are rising. People do not ply against the insignificant, they ply against the influential. They do not scheme against the forgotten, they scheme against the chosen. If anything, this entire episode is proof of your impact in the spiritual realm. The Archangel shows you another vision. You are standing on a staircase, and each step you take upward causes the shadows around you to tremble. Every move forward disturbs something behind you. Every elevation exposes what was comfortable in darkness. The individuals plotting your removal are reacting not to who you used to be, but to who you are becoming. They sense your spiritual promotion before you fully see it. They feel your breakthrough approaching before you step into it. And because they cannot control your ascent, they attempt to control your environment. But Michael interrupts their efforts with divine authority. He says, God will not allow them to succeed because your path is guarded by heaven's decree. Your name is written in the book of destiny, not the notebook of their plans. Your assignment is marked by God's hand, not their intentions. Your position is secured by divine order, not their opinions. You can't be removed by people where you have been positioned by purpose. Michael goes deeper, revealing that the enemy hath been targeting your mind during this time. He has attempted to introduce confusion, fatigue, and discouragement, not by attacking you directly, but by amplifying the atmosphere created by others. You may have felt unusually tired, unusually anxious, or unusually uncertain. You may have questioned your direction or wondered why relationships felt strained. These were spiritual symptoms of a plot forming around you. But now that it hath been exposed, the influence of those symptoms is collapsing. Revelation breaks the power of deception. Once light touches a hidden thing, its grip loses strength. This is why you may even feel lighter as you hear this, because exposure has begun the process of release. Michael now focuses on your response. He wants you to move forward with wisdom, not fear, with clarity, not anxiety, with discernment, not suspicion. He instructs you to watch more than you speak, observe more than you react, and discern more than you explain. Not everyone around you deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone around you has earned the right to hear your plans. You are stepping into a season where silence will be your shield and discernment will be your weapon. What is between you and heaven must remain between you and heaven. And just when you think the revelation is complete, Michael whispers something that sends a ripple through your spirit. The one who plots your removal will be the one removed first. This is not vengeance. This is spiritual law. Whatever seed one plants, good or evil, returns to the sower. They planned your displacement, but heaven has written their downfall. They attempted to shift your position, but God will shift theirs. What they meant for your harm will circle back to them in divine justice. Stay right here in this message. What is coming next is the identity of the spiritual force influencing this plot, and once you see that, everything will make perfect sense. Do not step away. You are right at the edge of a breakthrough in understanding. Type "I walk in divine discernment" in the comments if this part is awakening your spirit. Blessing code 8842 is released over your spiritual clarity and protection. Chosen one, as you continue on this journey of revelation, Archangel Michael lifts yet another veil, and what he reveals now carries both intensity and truth that your spirit has been prepared to receive. The deeper you go into this message, the clearer it becomes that nothing you have experienced recently has been random. Every uneasy feeling, every sudden shift in atmosphere, every unexpected coldness from people you once trusted was part of a larger spiritual pattern. Heaven allowed you to feel the tremors before the quake, not to frighten you, but to position you. And now, Michael stands before you with a clarity that pierces through every layer of confusion the enemy attempted to build around your life. He begins by guiding your attention to something you have sensed but never fully understood. The plot against you was not just fueled by human emotions. It was influenced by a spiritual force that has been attempting to operate through those who allowed jealousy and insecurity to open the door. Michael shows you that behind the words spoken against you, behind the meetings held without your knowledge, behind the subtle attempts to move you aside, there was a spirit of disruption attempting to gain access to your path. This spirit does not attack through storms or disasters. It attacks through people who carry unresolved darkness within themselves. Michael explains, those who allowed envy to take root became vessels without realizing it. They did not wake up planning to do harm. They did not consciously decide to plot your removal. But their hearts became fertile ground for a spiritual influence that thrives in secrecy, insecurity, and manipulation. This is why the attack felt personal even when the details were hidden. This is why their behavior shifted suddenly. This is why conversations changed in tone when you entered the room. A spiritual force had whispered to them, and they listened long enough for those whispers to grow into actions. Understand this. The enemy does not need everyone around you to fall. He only needs one person close to you to be open to influence. That one person becomes a doorway. And once the doorway is cracked open, even slightly, spiritual interference attempts to seep through it. Michael is showing you that someone around you allowed that doorway to open, not because they are evil, but because they have been spiritually unguarded. Their unresolved wounds created an entry point. Their unaddressed insecurities created vulnerability. Their desire for validation made them susceptible to comparison, and comparison soon turned into complaint. But here is what the enemy did not expect: your spiritual awareness. Heaven knew you would feel the shift. Heaven knew your discernment was too strong to be fooled. Heaven knew that even before this message reached you, something inside you had already begun to question the sudden changes in behavior. You are not easily deceived. You are not spiritually dull. And this plot was never going to succeed, because the one they targeted is the one heaven protected long before darkness even formed its intention. Michael reveals another layer, and this one reaches into the emotional core of what you have been feeling. You have wondered why certain relationships felt strained, why communication faltered, why plans fell apart without clear explanation. These disruptions were not coincidences. They were spiritual interruptions. Heaven began to distance you from certain individuals before their intentions could injure your spirit. You may have felt lonely in some moments, but that loneliness was divine insulation. You may have felt misunderstood, but that misunderstanding was spiritual separation for your protection. You may have felt abandoned by some, but Michael now clarifies: you were not abandoned, you were shielded. There is a strong truth unfolding here. Sometimes God removes you from conversations you were never meant to be part of. Sometimes He hides your name from the mouths of those who cannot handle your calling. Sometimes He blinds the eyes of those who would misuse your trust. And sometimes He allows tension to rise in relationships so that distance becomes the shield you didn't know you needed. A distance was heaven's mercy, not rejection. Michael continues with a revelation that strikes deeply. The spirit influencing those who plotted against you was targeting your stability. It wanted you to feel uncertain about your position, doubtful about your worth, and hesitant about your direction. It attempted to shake your confidence because confidence is a dangerous weapon in the hands of someone chosen. The enemy does not fear your voice alone. He fears your clarity. He fears your conviction. He fears your alignment with purpose. Because when you become fully aligned, every attack against you loses its power. This is why the enemy aimed for subtle erosion rather than direct confrontation. A direct attack would have awakened your spiritual defenses instantly. But a slow, quiet, emotional disturbance, this is what the enemy hoped would wear you down. Yet even this strategy failed, because heaven intervened before confusion could turn into collapse. Michael blocked the deeper access. He severed the hidden influence. He shattered the spiritual alignment of those plotting against you. And He brought you here, to this message, so you could understand what has been happening beneath the surface. Heaven does not warn without purpose. And Michael wants you to see that this exposure is not simply a revelation of who plotted against you, but a revelation of the spiritual authority you carry. The attack came because you are important to the unfolding of God's plan. The resistance came because your presence threatens the forces that operate in darkness. And the exposure came because heaven refuses to allow you to walk blindly into traps designed by envy. Michael leans forward with a final word for this moment. Your awareness is your protection, and your protection is a sign of your calling. You are being elevated into a new level of spiritual discernment. And what comes next will reveal the destiny the enemy was trying so desperately to block. Hold still. The next unveiling will expose why your destiny is so threatening to darkness. Type "I stand in heaven's truth" in the comments if this message is opening your understanding. Blessing code 9921 is now released over your spiritual strength and awareness. Beloved one, as the divine thread continues to unwind, Archangel Michael steps into this moment with a presence so steady, so unshakable, that even the atmosphere around you begins to respond. You may not hear the sound of his wings or see the radiance of his armor, yet in your spirit you can sense the seriousness of what he is about to reveal. The previous revelations have exposed the plot, the people, and the spiritual force behind their intentions. But now Michael ushers you into an even deeper understanding, one that connects your destiny with the reason the enemy pushed for your removal in the first place. You are not being shown these things to dwell on what was done against you. You are being shown these things to understand what heaven has placed within you. Michael begins by revealing something profound. The attack against your life did not form because you were weak, but because you carry an assignment that is entering a new phase of activation. You may have felt the shift without having a name for it. You may have sensed something rising inside you that you could not define yet. A new boldness, a new sensitivity, a new level of spiritual awareness. This is what the enemy saw long before you recognized it within yourself. Darkness always reacts to destiny before the chosen even fully realizes the weight of their calling. You were being targeted because heaven has written your name into a chapter you have not yet reached. Michael shows you a powerful vision, you standing on a threshold, one step away from entering a realm of influence, clarity, and spiritual authority you have never experienced before. But this threshold is guarded not by locks, but by resistance. Not by walls, but by distractions. Not by physical barriers, but by spiritual interference attempting to keep you from stepping into the fullness of who you are becoming. The plot formed because your elevation was approaching. The enemy used people who felt threatened, insecure, or jealous because those were the easiest doors he could find. But even through their actions, heaven has been positioning you. Michael says, the plot was their plan, but the timing was mine. Heaven permitted the exposure to occur now because you are being prepared for a transformation that requires clarity. You cannot carry unnecessary attachments into your next season. You cannot enter new elevation with old entanglements. You cannot walk into your purpose surrounded by people who would gladly watch you lose what God has ordained for you. So heaven allowed the plot to surface, not to frighten you, but to free you. You must understand that every chosen individual reaches a moment where hidden intentions are exposed, not because God wants to punish those who plotted, but because he wants to protect the one who was targeted. This is that moment for you. What you are experiencing is not betrayal, it is revelation. Not loss but cleansing. Not rejection, but spiritual alignment. The exposure was necessary so you would not carry shadows into your future. And as painful as revelation can be, it is the most powerful form of protection heaven gives. Michael reveals another layer, one that reaches into the heart of your destiny. The enemy wanted you removed because your presence disrupts dark cycles. Where you walk, spiritual patterns break. Where you stand, old generational attachments weaken. When you speak, clarity enters spaces that have been suffocating under confusion. When you rise, others begin to awaken. You do not simply exist, you shift atmospheres. And anyone who carries the ability to shift atmospheres becomes a target for those who feel threatened by change. Michael shows you that the individual or individuals plotting against you sensed something awakening in you, perhaps even before you sensed it fully yourself. They noticed your increasing spiritual resilience. They saw your internal growth. They sensed a maturity forming in you that made your presence harder to manipulate, harder to control, harder to diminish. They realized they could not stop your growth. so they attempted to remove you from the environment where your growth would shine most clearly. But heaven intervened because removing you was never an option. You are anchored to a divine assignment. You are rooted in a purpose that cannot be shifted by human intention. The Archangel continues, revealing that your elevation is linked to impact, not just personal success. You are entering a season where your influence will begin to touch lives in ways that ripple far beyond your immediate circle. This is why the attack came. The enemy fears influence. Darkness fears awakened souls. Fear-driven hearts fear those who rise with conviction. Yet Michael speaks firmly, "You will rise anyway." Michael then turns your attention inward. He shows you the development happening within your soul during this period of resistance. You are learning spiritual awareness. You are learning emotional resilience. You are learning discernment. You are learning divine timing. These lessons, though born in pressure, are equipping you for a higher level of spiritual responsibility. Your future requires a version of you that is strong enough to stand, wise enough to discern, and humble enough to remain anchored in God's truth. The enemy's plot unintentionally trained you for greatness. And now, Michael speaks with a tone that shakes the spiritual atmosphere. Your elevation will be public, but your preparation has been private. Heaven has been shaping your spirit quietly, and the very people who whispered about your removal will witness your rise. Not because you need their validation, but because heaven wants to make a statement. What God establishes, no man can uproot. You are approaching a pivotal moment. A moment where the pressure you felt will break open into clarity. A moment where the confusion will turn into confidence. A moment where the whispers of the enemy will be drowned by the declarations of heaven. Your next step is not survival. It is ascension. Michael is preparing to reveal the next critical truth. What heaven is about to do on your behalf will not only silence the plot against you, it will establish a new level of authority in your life. Stay close. This unfolding is not finished. Type "I receive my elevation" in the comments if your spirit recognizes this shift. Blessing code 6619 is now released over your breakthrough and divine advancement. Beloved heart, as you move deeper into this divine unveiling, Archangel Michael steps forward with a firmness that carries both warning and reassurance. His presence now is not the presence of introduction or preparation. It is the presence of declaration. Something has shifted in the spiritual realm, and you are being ushered into the understanding of what heaven has already decided concerning your life. The earlier parts revealed the plot, the influence, and the spiritual force working through those who wish to see you removed. But now, Michael reveals something far greater, the response of heaven to the injustice attempted against you. What he shows next is not merely protection, it is divine recompense. Michael begins by revealing that heaven never allows a plot formed in darkness to pass without consequence. Every intention spoken against a chosen one becomes a trigger for divine intervention. You were not aware of the meetings, the whispers, or the quiet conversations meant to push you aside, but heaven was listening the entire time. Nothing escapes the throne room. Every word spoken against you was heard by angels assigned to your life. Every attempt to undermine you was recorded in the spiritual realm. And Archangel Michael has stood watch long enough to determine that the time for silent observation is over. Now comes the time for divine action. He shows you a heavenly ledger, an image that symbolizes spiritual justice. On one side are the names and intentions of those who plotted against you. On the other side is your calling, your purpose, your divine assignment. The weight of your destiny outweighs every scheme formed against you. Michael makes it clear, heaven will not allow the hands of the insecure, the jealous, were the misguided to interfere with the trajectory God has ordained for your life. Those who attempted to remove you will find themselves removed from the very conversation they tried to weaponize. Those who attempted to tarnish your name will find their own words exposed. Those who attempted to weaken you will find themselves confronted by truth they cannot deny. But Michael reveals something deeper now, something that shifts the entire atmosphere around you. He says, this attack was allowed because it triggered the release of your next level. Heaven is not merely interrupting the plot. Heaven is using the plot as the catalyst for your elevation. The very attempt to diminish you has become the spiritual mechanism that unlocks your expansion. The enemy thought he could push you out, but instead he pushed you forward. He thought he could remove you, but instead he has accelerated your rise. Michael then shifts your attention to what has been happening inside your spirit. During this entire period, you were being strengthened in ways you did not realize. Every heavy emotion that surfaced was actually a sign of transformation. Every moment of confusion was an invitation into deeper discernment. Every sudden discomfort was heaven pulling you away from emotional traps that could have limited your destiny. You were not breaking during this time. You were shedding. Your old sensitivities were shedding. Your old patterns of trust were shedding. Your old emotional responses were shedding. And underneath what was shedding, your true strength was emerging. The Archangel reveals that this season exposed not only the intentions of others, but also the growth within you. You responded differently than you would have in the past. You sensed what was happening even without evidence. Your spirit recognized energy shifts, tone changes, and hidden tensions that your natural mind could not yet articulate. That sensitivity is not a burden. It is a gift. You were being trained to identify spiritual movement without physical confirmation. That is the mark of someone chosen for higher work. Michael also shows you that the enemy underestimated your resilience. He expected you to break under pressure, to withdraw emotionally, or to become confused enough to sabotage your own assignment. Instead, you stayed standing. Instead, you stayed alert. Instead, you stayed connected to divine guidance, even when you did not consciously realize it. This spiritual posture is one of the reasons heaven has decided to move mightily on your behalf now. When the chosen remain aligned under pressure, heaven responds with promotion. The next revelation comes with even greater force. Your enemies were discussing your removal, but heaven is discussing your elevation. Michael speaks this with such authority that it reverberates through your spirit. Heaven has convened on your behalf. Your name hath been spoken with honor in realms unseen. Your purpose hath been reaffirmed. Your assignment has been upgraded. What they tried to subtract from you has become the very thing God will multiply in your life. Your influence is about to expand. Your clarity is about to intensify. Your visibility is about to increase. But Michael does not stop there. He reveals that those plotting against you will be confronted, not by you, but by circumstances they cannot escape. Truth has a way of rising at the exact moment deception reaches its peak. They will reveal themselves without you ever needing to expose them. Heaven has already set the stage for their intentions to come to light. Their alliances will crumble. Their silent agreements will fall apart. And the power they believed they held will slip through their fingers the moment divine justice steps forward. Michael now turns your attention to a powerful truth. You will not only be protected, you will be vindicated. Vindication is not merely the removal of accusation. It is the public recognition of truth. Vindication is when heaven lifts your head in the very place the enemy tried to push it down. Vindication is when God confirms what was always true about you. This vindication is approaching, and it will unfold in ways that even you did not anticipate. And then Michael speaks directly to your spirit. Prepare to stand tall. Your next season will require the fullness of who you are becoming. What you endured was training. What you survived was qualification. What you discerned was initiation. You are stepping into a realm where you will walk with more authority, more clarity, and more spiritual maturity than ever before. The enemy tried to remove you because he sensed the magnitude of who you are about to become. Michael pauses, and his final words for this moment come with unmistakable gravity. Your elevation is sealed. No plot can reverse what heaven has decreed. Stay close. The next revelation will show how heaven plans to execute this elevation. Type "I receive heaven's justice" in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 3308 is released over your divine vindication and rising. Beloved soul, as you continue walking through this divine unveiling, Archangel Michael now stands before you with an intensity that signals a monumental shift. What he is about to reveal is not simply another layer of understanding. It is the turning point. This is where the entire narrative flips, where the attempt to remove you becomes the foundation of your elevation, where the enemy's whispers become the very reason heaven speaks louder. Michael's presence grows stronger because what comes next has the power to reframe everything you thought you lost, everything that confused you, and everything that weighed on you these past weeks or months. Heaven is not only exposing the plot, heaven is announcing how your destiny will unfold in response to it. Michael begins by showing you something deeply symbolic. He reveals an image of a locked door, heavy, fortified, guarded by shadows. This door represents opportunities that seemed closed, rooms you were denied access to, and pathways that appeared blocked. The people who plotted against you believed this door would never open for you. They believed they could influence the environment around you enough to keep you on the outside, watching, waiting, hoping. They believed their words were powerful enough to alter your standing, diminish your influence, or weaken your confidence. But Michael then reveals the truth. This door was never theirs to control. He shows you the real image, heaven's hand resting on the lock. Every time someone whispered against you, heaven tightened its grip. Every time someone plotted behind your back, heaven added another layer of divine protection. And now, the moment has arrived. The lock is turning. The door is opening. Not because you pleaded for it, not because they approved of you, not because circumstances favored you, but because heaven has decreed your entrance. Michael speaks with absolute clarity. What they tried to block will now burst open before you. What they tried to hide will be placed directly in your hands. And what they tried to remove you from will become the very place you are elevated. This is not poetic metaphor. This is spiritual legislation. When heaven makes a declaration, no earthly scheme can alter it. You are being ushered into a level where divine timing overrides human planning. Michael now reveals something powerful about the aftermath of the plot. While the enemy worked through insecurity, jealousy, and secrecy, heaven was working simultaneously through alignment, preparation, and strategy. You were not standing still during this battle. You were being recalibrated. Heaven was shifting your mindset, sharpening your intuition, strengthening your voice, and teaching you the difference between spiritual attachment and spiritual assignment. You are learning who deserves access and who does not. You are learning who carries genuine loyalty and who carries hidden agendas. You are learning that discernment is not suspicion, it is survival. The reason this transition is so important is because elevation requires accuracy. You cannot rise while surrounded by the wrong voices. You cannot walk into your future carrying the weight of those who secretly hoped you would fail. You cannot step into your assignment while dragging spiritually dead connections. And so, heaven allowed tension to uncover truth. Heaven allowed discomfort to reveal motives. Heaven allowed distance to expose hearts. Every strained interaction was heaven's signal. Every awkward silence was a warning. Every shift in energy was a red flag. And now, Michael reveals that these signals were all preparing you for the moment unfolding right now. The moment where heaven reverses everything the enemy attempted. Michael's next revelation is profound. He shows you a scene where your name is being spoken, this time not in secret meetings of removal, but in divine discussions of promotion. Heaven's counsel is releasing favor, opportunity, and clarity into your path. The very spiritual power that guarded you is now guiding you into places where your presence will carry greater authority. You are about to be seen differently, valued differently, approached differently. Not because you changed to please others, but because heaven changed your season. Michael says, your elevation will not be quiet. It will not be hidden. And it will not be deniable. Heaven is preparing to make your rise a testimony, one that even your doubters cannot ignore. You will shine in places where they expected you to disappear. You will flourish in spaces they thought you were unqualified for. You will thrive where they hoped you would shrink. This elevation will not feel accidental, it will feel ordained. But Michael adds a crucial truth. With elevation comes visibility. With visibility comes responsibility. And with responsibility comes greater spiritual authority. You are stepping into a season where your voice will matter more, your decisions will carry greater weight, and your presence will impact others on a deeper level. Heaven is not elevating you for comfort. Heaven is elevating you for purpose. Now, Michael prepares your heart for the next unveiling. He tells you that what is coming next will reveal exactly how heaven intends to confront those who plotted against you, not with revenge, but with divine reversal. What they sowed will return to them. What they attempted will dissolve before their eyes, and what they hoped would harm you will become your stepping stone. Do not drift away now. What unfolds next is the justice your spirit has sensed but has not yet seen. Before we continue, like this message, share it with someone who needs divine protection. Comment your confirmation. Hype this revelation so others can receive it, and subscribe so you never miss a word sent for your destiny. Type "I rise by heaven's decree" in the comments if this part ignited something inside you. Blessing code 5506 is now released over your elevation and protection. As Michael exposes every hidden plot and lifts you toward your destiny, understand that this message is not just speaking to you. It is speaking through you, reaching countless souls who need the same divine breakthrough. When you support this mission, you become a vessel through which God sends clarity, healing, and protection into the lives of others. Just as Scripture declares that those who sow into divine work reap in divine measure, this moment becomes sacred ground for your seed. Hear this line in your spirit. I am inviting you to stand with this calling today. The very theme of this message, divine exposure, divine elevation, divine protection, continues only because people like you keep the light shining. Your super thanks, your membership, your offering through the PayPal link in the description becomes part of heaven's weaponry against darkness. Release your support boldly, for heaven honors those who move when the Spirit stirs. Precious one, now that the heavens have revealed the movement behind your elevation, Archangel Michael draws even closer, and his presence shifts from protective to authoritative. What he is about to unveil is not merely the aftermath of the plot. It is the spiritual architecture of your comeback. There is a momentum gathering around you, a divine force that has been building quietly in the unseen, and now it is rising to the surface. You have endured whispers, subtle betrayals, emotional heaviness, and unexpected tension, but none of it was wasted. Heaven used every moment to fortify you, sharpen you, and position you. The enemy believed he could disturb your stability, but instead, He activated your destiny. And now Michael reveals the larger story, what God intends to do with everything the enemy tried to sabotage. Michael begins by showing you a vision of a battlefield, not filled with chaos, but organized with precision. Angels stand in formation, not frantic but prepared. This battlefield represents your life, your calling, your purpose. The enemy assumed you were standing alone, unaware, unprotected, and vulnerable. But in truth, you were surrounded by warriors, silent, watchful, unshakable. Every attempt to remove you was met with resistance in the spiritual realm. Every whisper of doubt was countered by a divine decree. Every hidden conversation was drowned out by the wisdom of heaven. The battle was never even. The odds were never against you. The enemy misjudged your cover. Michael then reveals something even more profound. He says, you were never fighting for position. Heaven already established your place. The attempt to remove you was meaningless in the eyes of God because your assignment was secured long before the plot was formed. Position is not given by people, it is given by purpose. And purpose is written by the hand of God. Those who plotted against you believed your influence depended on their acceptance, but heaven has made it clear, your impact comes from divine appointment, not human permission. He now turns your attention to your inner world. Michael shows you how your discernment has sharpened, how your intuition has strengthened, how your emotional awareness has expanded. None of this happened by accident. You were being trained through experience, not textbooks. You were being shaped through pressure, not comfort. You were being prepared through rejection, not applause. This kind of preparation cannot be taught. It must be lived. And because you have lived it, you are emerging with a depth that few people carry, a depth that makes you spiritually effective and spiritually dangerous to darkness. Michael speaks again, and his voice carries a prophetic authority. Your eyes have been opened. You will never walk blind again. This means that the enemy has lost a significant tactic. The season of being unaware, unsuspecting, unprepared has ended. You now recognize energy before words. You sense intention before action. You feel spiritual shifts before they manifest. And this operate in discernment is itself a threat to darkness. You are no longer someone who can be blindsided. You are no longer someone who can be manipulated. You are no longer someone who can be quietly removed. The days of spiritual vulnerability are behind you. Michael now reveals the consequence of the plot, the unavoidable reversal that heaven has already set into motion. Those who attempted to undermine you will find themselves facing the weight of their own decisions. Every seed of harm they planted returns to them in full measure, not as punishment, but as divine justice. Heaven does not operate in vengeance. Heaven operates in correction. And when someone targets a chosen one, they invite spiritual correction upon their own path. Michael is not revealing this for you to take pleasure in their downfall, but for you to understand that God does not ignore injustice. Heaven responds in ways humans cannot foresee. In another vision, Michael shows you a table, long, tall, radiant with light. Your name sits at the center. This table represents opportunity, influence, growth, and access. Around the table, seats are being filled by individuals who are aligned with your next season. People who recognize your value, who honor your calling, who see your worth. Heaven is preparing connections that carry destiny in them. People you have not yet met will soon become part of your spiritual and personal expansion. People who once ignored you will seek your wisdom. People who once doubted you will witness your rise. Michael then reveals the truth behind the timing of this elevation. The plot against you was not the cause of your promotion. It was the confirmation of it. The very fact that the enemy attempted to remove you means your next season carries weight, significance, and breakthrough. The enemy only attacks where he senses divine movement. If nothing were shifting for you, there would be no resistance. The resistance was evidence. The attempts against you were prophetic. What they tried to take from you were the very thing God is now amplifying. The Archangel's final revelation in this moment strikes deeply. Your elevation will not only benefit you, it will free others. Heaven is not raising you for your own comfort. Heaven is raising you so your voice, your presence, your clarity, and your strength can pull others out of the traps you escaped. You are not rising alone. You are rising with an assignment. You are rising with influence that reaches further than you imagine. You are rising with a mantle that carries the weight of transformation. Michael pauses, and for a moment, everything feels still. The spiritual realm holds its breath as he speaks one last truth. The enemy wanted you removed. Heaven wants you revealed. This is the turning point. What comes next will show how God plans to reveal you. Type "I walk in heaven's unstoppable purpose" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 1297 is released over your rise, your resilience, and your revelation. Beloved one, as the revelation continues to unfold, Archangel Michael steps into this moment with a depth of authority that signals you are entering the most transformative phase of this entire message. What has been exposed, what has been revealed, and what has been whispered into your spirit so far has prepared you for something greater than you realize. This part of your journey is not just about understanding the plot that was formed against you. It is about understanding the unveiling of who you truly are in the eyes of heaven. Michael now reveals not only what was done to you, but what is about to rise within you. He begins by showing you an image that feels both familiar and foreign. You see yourself standing in a dimly lit room. Shadows surround you, but they do not touch you. They remain at a distance, unable to cross an invisible boundary. This room represents the psychological and emotional space you were forced into during the season of the plot. A space where you felt isolated, misunderstood, questioned, and perhaps even unseen. Yet as you look closer in this vision, you notice something astonishing. The shadows around you are shrinking. They are losing their shape. They are losing their influence. They are fading because the light within you is growing stronger. What you thought was a weakening was actually a strengthening. What you thought was a setback was preparation. What you thought was abandonment was divine isolation meant to protect your growth. Michael's voice breaks through the vision with clarity. You were not alone in the shadows. You were being transformed. He reveals that heaven placed you in a spiritual incubation season where distractions were stripped away, where false connections dissolved, and where the noise around you quieted long enough for your inner voice to rise. While others were speaking against you, heaven was speaking into you. While they plotted, you were being positioned. While they doubted you, God was defining you. The loneliness you felt was not punishment. It was consecration. You were being set apart so that when the moment came for your rise, nothing and no one could claim credit for it. Michael continues by showing you another layer of the truth. He reveals that the enemy's greatest concern was not your current influence but your future impact. The plot to remove you was not aimed at who you are today but at who you are becoming. Your next level carries authority. It carries reach. It carries spiritual weight. It carries a mantle that disrupts darkness in ways you have not yet realized. The enemy sensed the emergence of a new version of you, one that cannot be manipulated, one that cannot be deceived, one that cannot be easily shaken. This is why the pressure intensified. This is why the attacks became subtle yet persistent. You were on the brink of becoming someone the enemy feared you would become. Michael reveals that you are crossing a spiritual threshold now. The version of you that endured confusion is giving way to the version of you that carries clarity. The version of you that tolerated disrespect is giving way to the version that demands alignment. The version of you that questioned your worth is giving way to the version that recognizes your calling. This is not just growth, it is transformation. And transformation always happens quietly before it manifests loudly. Heaven has been preparing you for a role, a responsibility, an assignment that requires the strength you develop during this season. Every tear watered your spiritual soil. Every moment of doubt taught you to listen deeper. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every disappointment carved more room inside you for divine wisdom. Nothing was wasted. All of it was intentional. Michael now draws your attention to the relationships around you. He shows you that some people were never meant to walk with you into your next season. Their departure was not failure, it was fulfillment. Heaven removed them or exposed them because they could not handle the weight of your next chapter. You are being aligned with people who can carry vision, not fear, support, not sabotage, loyalty, not competition. The days of being surrounded by those who mask insecurity with friendship are ending. Heaven is surrounding you with those who are spiritually compatible with your calling. Michael then speaks a truth that shakes the very foundation of the spiritual realm. Your rise will not be subtle. Heaven is not preparing a quiet comeback for you. Heaven is preparing a visible elevation, one that those who doubted you will witness. One that those who plotted against you will not be able to deny. One that those who abandoned you will regret missing. Your rise will not be rooted in revenge but in revelation. It will show the world who you truly are beyond the limits others tried to place on you. He reveals that the next season of your life will carry signs that the hand of God is upon you. Sudden opportunities, unexplainable breakthroughs, moments where things align with supernatural precision. You will walk into places that once felt impossible. You will receive clarity in areas that once felt overwhelming. You will step into roles that once felt unreachable. Your elevation will not require striving. It will require readiness. Heaven is orchestrating the path. Your job is to walk it. Michael also reveals that your voice is about to change. Not your physical voice, but the authority behind it. When you speak, people will listen differently. When you lead, people will follow more willingly. When you navigate spaces, your presence will carry weight. This is the spiritual authority that trials activate in the chosen. You do not rise simply because the attack ends. You rise because the attack awakened your strength. And then, in a powerful moment, Michael declares, the same shadows that tried to silence you will now watch you shine. This is not poetic. This is prophetic. The forces that once pressed against you are losing their influence. The voices that once tried to diminish you will fade. Your name will carry anointing. Your steps will carry purpose. Your rise will carry heaven's signature. Michael prepares you for the next revelation, the unveiling of how God will reveal you publicly. The next part will show not only your elevation, but the divine spotlight that heaven is about to place over your life. Type "I am ready for my revealing" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Lesson code 7445 is released over your identity, authority, and transformation. Beloved Spirit, as the divine current continues to flow, Archangel Michael steps nearer than ever before. His presence now is not simply protective or revelatory, it is triumphant. You are entering the phase where heaven begins to unveil how your rise will manifest in the physical realm. Everything revealed so far hath been preparing your spirit, aligning your heart, sharpening your discernment, and strengthening your resolve. But now, Michael reveals what heaven is orchestrating on your behalf in real time. This is not a distant promise. This is a present unfolding. The shift has already begun, and your spirit can feel it even if your eyes have not yet seen it. Michael begins by showing you a powerful vision. You standing on a platform of light, elevated above the shadows that once tried to conceal your significance. This platform represents the spiritual elevation heaven has already decreed for you. You are not climbing toward it. You are being lifted into it. The enemy tried to remove you from your purpose, but heaven is about to reveal you within it. Michael reveals that your elevation is not merely spiritual. It will be visible, undeniable, and orchestrated with such precision that even those who questioned you will have no choice but to acknowledge it. Heaven has reached a divine decision concerning your life, and Michael's voice echoes with certainty as he says, "Your revealing is not dependent on human approval. It is dependent on divine timing." The people who tried to whisper you out of opportunities cannot whisper you out of destiny. The individuals who tried to block your access cannot stop the hand of God from opening new pathways. You are stepping into a season where divine alignment overrides human agendas. Doors that were once closed are now being commanded to open. Opportunities that were delayed are now being accelerated. Influence that felt distant is now drawing near. Michael shows you a second vision, one that explains the magnitude of your upcoming revelation. You see a crown made of light resting above your head, shimmering with a brilliance that feels almost unreal. This crown is symbolic of your spiritual authority, your inner transformation, and your divine identity. While others saw your outward struggles, heaven saw your inward becoming. While others judged your circumstances, heaven nurtured your character. While others questioned your ability, heaven expanded your capacity. The crown represents who you truly are, a chosen one whose journey was never meant to remain hidden. He then reveals a profound truth: your revealing will come in stages. Heaven is not elevating you all at once, heaven is elevating you with intention. Every stage of your rise will carry purpose. Your voice will begin to reach people you never imagined. Your presence will begin to unlock doors that once felt impenetrable. Your influence will reach circles that were never accessible before. Some of these shifts will be sudden, surprising you with their speed. Others will be gradual, unfolding like a sunrise, glowing brighter with each passing moment. Michael explains that one of the reasons the enemy fought so hard to remove you is because your next season carries impact for others. You are not rising for yourself alone. You are rising to become a vessel of breakthrough, healing, clarity, and transformation for those who will cross your path. Heaven is enlarging your territory, not geographically, but spiritually. Your words will reach further. Your presence will carry more weight. Your choices will influence more people. You will discover that your journey was not just about surviving. It was about preparing you to lead, guide, uplift, and awaken those who are connected to your destiny. Michael reveals another layer of your unveiling. He shows you a mirror, not a physical mirror, but a spiritual one. In this mirror, you see the version of yourself that heaven sees. You notice strength you did not know you carried. You see wisdom that trauma could not erase. You see resilience that betrayal could not break. You see purpose that jealousy could not stop. This version of you, the elevated you, is emerging. Slowly at first, then suddenly. As this alignment continues, you will begin to feel less attached to old versions of yourself. Habits will fall away. Fears will become irrelevant. Relationships that drained you will lose their hold. Conversations that once triggered you will no longer penetrate your peace. You are stepping into a new level of self-awareness that allows you to walk as the person heaven intended you to be all along. Michael's next words are filled with prophetic fire. Your reputation will be restored in places where it was damaged. Your voice will be amplified in spaces where it was ignored. Your presence will be honored in rooms where it was dismissed. Heaven is preparing to make a public demonstration of your resilience. What people thought was your downfall will become your confirmation. What they believed was your end will become your beginning. You will find that everything lost in the shadows returns in the light, multiplied. And then Michael reveals something deeply comforting. He says, "Heaven has already spoken your name." This means your revealing is irreversible. The conversations happening about you in the spiritual realm carry weight, authority, and momentum. Angels are aligning resources. Opportunities are positioning themselves. People are being prepared to recognize your value. Some will not understand why they feel drawn to you. Others will feel compelled to support you without knowing the reason. This is divine influence at work. Heaven is positioning hearts to receive you before you arrive. Michael then shows you a final image for this moment, a bridge stretching between where you are and where you are called to be. The bridge is illuminated, solid, and protected. No one can cut it. No one can block it. And no one can pull you off of it. He reveals that as you walk this bridge in the coming season, the clarity of your calling will intensify. You will understand your purpose more clearly than ever. You will feel directed rather than confused. You will sense alignment rather than uncertainty. Heaven is guiding your steps with precision. And as this part comes to a close, Michael whispers with authority, "Prepare yourself. The revealing begins soon, and nothing will look the same once it starts." Type "I am ready" for my divine revealing in the comments if your spirit bears witness. Blessing code 4196 is released over your unveiling, alignment, and divine manifestation. Beloved soul, you have reached the moment where the message converges, the point where revelation, elevation, and divine justice come together in one powerful spiritual truth. Archangel Michael stands before you now with a presence so commanding, so steady, so filled with heavenly authority that even the unseen realms respond to him. His wings stretch wide, not as a warning anymore, but as a proclamation. The fight is over. The exposure has happened. The elevation has been decreed. And now, heaven prepares to bring forth the final movement, the manifestation of everything promised, protected, and preserved for you. Michael begins by showing you an image unlike any you have seen so far, a courtroom in heaven, filled with glorious light. There is no judgment chair in the way humans imagine it. Instead, there is a throne, massive, radiant, unshakable. From this throne comes a voice that vibrates through your spirit, a voice that announces that your season of shadows has ended, your season of preparation has completed, and your season of revealing has arrived. The plot to remove you hath been overturned. The conversation meant to silence you has been silenced. Every secret intention has been nullified. The case against you has collapsed under the weight of divine truth. Michael speaks with absolute certainty. Heaven has ruled in your favor. These words carry power because they represent a spiritual verdict that no human can reverse. You have been vindicated in realms unseen before vindication appears in the physical. Your name has been cleared in the presence of angels long before it is restored among people. Your purpose has been reaffirmed, your calling reactivated, your destiny reignited. What was attempted against you has now become the foundation upon which your elevation will stand. Heaven wastes nothing, not attacks, not betrayal, not disappointment, not pain. Everything has become material for your rise. Michael now reveals what will happen next, not symbolically, but practically. He shows you a vision of your life unfolding in ways that feel both surprising and familiar, as though your spirit already knew this moment was coming even when your mind could not understand it. You will begin to notice shifts around you. People who once overlooked you will suddenly take notice. Opportunities you thought were lost will reappear with even greater promise. Conversations you were excluded from will be replaced with invitations you never expected. The spaces that once resisted your presence will now make room for you. This is not coincidence. It is divine orchestration. Heaven is not simply bringing you back from what was done against you. Heaven is launching you into something greater. The reason the plot against you felt so intense, so personal, so disorienting, is because the calling on your life is equally intense, personal, and significant. Your purpose carries weight. Your voice carries fire. Your spirit carries authority. And heaven has now decided that the fullness of these gifts can no longer remain hidden in the shadows of preparation. You are stepping into a season where your presence will shift atmospheres, your words will carry breakthrough, and your influence will unlock doors for others. But Michael adds something deeply profound. Your elevation carries responsibility. Heaven is not elevating you for applause. Heaven is elevating you for assignment. You will walk into spaces where your discernment must remain sharp. You will encounter people whose intentions must be read with spiritual eyes. You will be trusted with tasks that require humility, wisdom, and boldness. This rise is not merely a blessing. It is a calling to stand in greater authority, to carry greater light, and to walk with deeper conviction. Michael then shifts your attention to the ones who plotted against you, not to stir bitterness, but to reveal closure. He shows you that their influence is fading, their alliances dissolving, their strategies unraveling. Some will quietly retreat. Some will remain silent out of discomfort. Others will watch from afar as your rise becomes undeniable. You are not to seek revenge, not to expose them, not to retaliate. Heaven has already judged the matter. Your responsibility now is to rise with grace, confidence, and divine clarity. Michael says their plan ended. Your purpose continues. He then reveals the final and most powerful truth of this entire message. Your rise will bring glory to God. You are not being elevated merely for personal gain, but to demonstrate the power of divine protection, divine justice, and divine orchestration. Your life will become living proof that no plot can override heaven's plan. You will be a testimony to those who feel unheard, unseen, forgotten, or attacked. Your story will unlock hope in others. Your resilience will awaken courage in those who follow you. Your restoration will remind the world that heaven never abandons the chosen. Michael's wings fold slowly as he gives you his final charge. Step forward now. Walk with boldness. Carry your crown. Heaven goes with you. To those words, the atmosphere shifts. A seal hath been placed upon this revelation, a seal of completion, victory, and commissioning. The season of exposure is over. The season of elevation has begun. Guard this message. Walk in it. Declare it. And prepare to witness the manifestation of everything heaven has spoken. Before you go any further, type "I receive my divine verdict" in the comments if your spirit recognizes this moment. Blessing code 3309 is released over your new beginning, your new authority, and your unstoppable rise. As this message reaches its final revelation, understand that you are standing in a holy moment, one where heaven's truth has been spoken over your life. When you support this mission, you are not supporting a channel. You are strengthening a lifeline that delivers divine clarity to souls who desperately need heaven's voice. Scripture declares that the one who scatters seed will increase all the more, and today, that living promise is breathing over you. Hear my heart in this. I am inviting you personally to partner with this calling, Just as Michael exposed the hidden plot against you, your support helps expose truth and light to others battling unseen warfare. Your super thanks, your membership, or your offering through the PayPal link in the description becomes a prophetic act that heaven honors with abundance. Step into this moment boldly and release your support now. Heaven commands movements of faith, not hesitation.